What if I told you that one woman living in the Democratic Republic of Congo has given birth to 53 children? Yes, you heard that right. While Mariam Nabatansi of Uganda became widely known for having 44 children, and other cases of extreme fertility have made headlines, Francine from Goma remains largely unknown. Her story is both extraordinary and heartbreaking, a tale of unimaginable motherhood, medical mystery, and survival. But how did she manage to give birth to so many children? What kind of life do they live? And why has a story been unheard before? Let's take a closer look at the world's most fertile woman. Francine, a mother like no other. Francine is 50 years old and she has spent most of her life pregnant. Her family is so large that even her own children struggle to remember all their siblings. One of them, her firstborn, explained, "I have 52 siblings. I can't even remember all their names or faces. Sometimes I meet a little one in the street and don't even realize they are my sibling until they introduce themselves." It's difficult to even imagine what life in such a massive family must be like. Most of her older children are already married, and now Francine is also a grandmother with over 10 grandchildren and counting. A home that struggles to hold a family this big. With so many children under one roof, living conditions are challenging. The house is remarkably small for a family this size. Instead of beds, mattresses are laid out on the floor, and the older children, who can no longer share space with the young ones, sleep on the sofas in the sitting room. With only one washroom, many children bath outside at night, a common practice in many African villages where water access is limited. This is the reality they live with every single day. But perhaps the biggest challenge of all is food. Francine's daily struggle is not just about raising her children, but making sure they don't go hungry. Now let's talk about the cost of feeding 53 children. Oh my God. Every day, Francine needs to cook massive amount of food just to keep her family fed. She prepares food in quantities that look more like preparations for a wedding than a family meal. Despite their teamwork, this daily task is exhausting and financially draining. Francine's children help her as much as they can, but many admit that they simply don't earn enough to make a difference. The beginning. How did it all start? Francine's journey into motherhood began at just 16 years old when she had her first child. She fell in love with a man who promised her the world, but soon after she became pregnant, he abandoned her. At 19, she met another man, the man she would call the love of her life. With him, she went on to have 52 more children. For decades, they built their family together, but few months ago, tragedy struck. Francine's husband passed away, leaving her to raise this enormous family alone. It was his strength and love that kept her going through the hardest times. And now, without him, the burden is heavier than ever. The medical mystery. How is it even possible for a woman to have 53 children? Francine's case is not just rare, it's a medical anomaly. She was born with a genetic condition called hyperovulation, which causes her body to release multiple eggs during each cycle. This condition made her pregnancies highly unusual. Instead of having single births, she mostly gave birth to twins, triplets, and even quintuplets. Here's how her 53 children were born. Quintuplets, 5 babies at once, twice. Quadruplets, 4 babies at once, 3 times. Triplets, 3 babies at once, 4 times. Twins, 2 babies at once, 5 times. And single births, 3 times. At one point, Francine sought medical advice to understand why she was so fertile. The doctor's advice was shocking. He told her that if she stopped giving birth, her fertility could cause dangerous tumors to grow in her ovaries, putting her life at risk. So, in a desperate effort to stay alive, she kept having children. And looking back, Francine does not regret it. Because for her, choosing motherhood was choosing survival. And you may be asking, why haven't the world heard of Francine? While other women with large families have gained international attention, Francine's story remained hidden from the world. She believes this is because of where she lives. In Francine's word, she said, "In this country, there are many unbelievable things the world doesn't know. Maybe it's because of the endless wars here. International journalists don't come to tell our stories. When people hear about Congo, they only hear about war and minerals, but not about the people who live here, struggling and surviving against all odds." Francine believes that there might even be some other women with more children than her, but without media coverage, their story remains untold. How does she afford education for her children? The big one. One of the few blessings Francine has received is free education for her children. Francine said, "Before, it was almost impossible to send them to school, but now, because of the new government, her children study for free." Still, education is only one piece of the puzzle. Francine continues to struggle to provide food, clothes, and medical care for her children. The burden is never ending. A mother's unbreakable spirit. Despite everything she has been through, Francine has never thought of leaving her children. "I can't dream of leaving my children. I would rather die than abandon them. None of my children asked to be born. I am responsible for everything that happened to them in this life," Francine said. Her love for them is unconditional. Not all heroes wear capes. Francine's story is one of resilience, sacrifice, and unconditional love. She was born with hyperovulation, but she was also born with a heart strong enough to love 53 children. She didn't choose this life, but she chooses to embrace it. And now, the world knows her story. If this story moved you in the tiniest bits, leave a like, comment, and share it. This is AB Worldwide Stories. I'll see you in the next video.